All right. Hello and welcome. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Elaine Scher, she, hers, and I am a program director with the Inclusive STEM Ecosystems for Equity and Diversity, also known as ISEED program, here at the American Association for the Advancement of Science. On behalf of AAAS and the Robert Noyce Teacher Scholarship Program, I would like to welcome you to today's interest and information session for proposal panel reviewers featuring Noyce Program Lead Jennifer Ellis. Before I hand it over to Dr. Ellis, I have a few housekeeping notes. This presentation is being recorded, and the recording will be made available in the coming weeks on the NSF Noyce website at nsfnoyce.org, all one word. You will also receive an email with a link to the recording once it's available. Additionally, we have closed captioning for this session. You can download and view the full transcript by clicking the CC button at the bottom of your screen. And with that, I will now hand it over to Dr. Ellis.
Hi, everyone. I will share my screen as soon as I can find it. And we will go ahead and begin. I really wanted to thank you all, and thanks AAAS for even recommending that we do this. And I think I need to share my screen. My camera is this way, and I want to make sure I'm looking at you versus you see the side profile of my face, but I think you're going to still see the side profile. So I'll just kind of look cross-eyed for a second. So let me go to Zoom, and I will share my screen, and I will share screen 2. So hopefully that's what you see. Do you see my slides?
Not yet.
Share.
Here we go. It looks like looks like we're getting it now.
Okay, great. So welcome to this panel review informational. And so talking with AAAS at a meeting, and they said, well, maybe, would it be helpful to have a webinar about what does it mean to be a panel reviewer? And so this is how this was birthed. So again, great collaboration with AAAS on kind of giving something practical. So yes, I have a few slides, but it's really informal. But just thank you. When I heard how many people were interested in this, I was just, again, so surprised. So thank you for your interest in serving as a panel reviewer for NSF, for Noyce. And I also plug in the Improving Undergraduate STEM Education. We do have proposals that come in that focus on STEM teacher preparation. And so think of this as also a way for you, for those of you who are interested in learning more about IUs, using serving as a reviewer for IUs as one of your inroads on learning more about that program as well. So we wanted to start by saying thank you. And then for those of you who have not expressed your interest via the survey, I'll leave this up for a few seconds just to allow you to scan the QR code or to click it, or if you need a link, I can put that in the chat for you. I can also, I can put that in the chat for those of you who are interested in serving as a reviewer. I'll put that link in the chat so you can click out that interest form. And so it'll make a little bit more sense on why we really want you to submit. Oh, somebody already did that. Thanks, Drew. To submit the survey, when I talk a little bit more about the different roles we are intentional about with Noyce, and making sure that we have different types of folks on our panels, and we do that very intentionally. So I think I might leave this up just for a little bit more, and I know you have the link, but I'll wait till it says 3:05 on my calendar. I mean, on my clock, before I click to the next slide. But again, thank you for those of you who have expressed interest and want to learn more about the what it means to be a panel reviewer, and what it means to be a reviewer for Noyce. And so this is our team for Noyce for FY25. And so we're very thankful to have so many of the program officers who are probably in among you as participants. We're here to help you. And so you would work very closely with one of these people, and maybe another program officer or two, depending on how many proposals that were submitted yesterday. We may have to phone a friend to help us with some of these panels. But you'll work very closely with one of these folks, and they will help you through the process. We do have formal orientations. We do have open office hours, and so you won't just be thrown into this process. We do kind of guide you, provide you with resources, and are here to help you prior to the panel, as well as during the panel process and even after. And so these are the team of folks who will be here to help you as you serve as a panel reviewer if you're selected. And all of you, I'm more than sure, are aware of the Noyce program, but I wanted to just kind of remind us of what the goals are. And so as you're thinking about serving as a reviewer, it's okay to let us know. Actually, I prefer to serve on a track one, which is really focusing on addressing the critical needs for recruiting, preparing, and retaining K-12 STEM teachers and teacher leaders in high need school districts, or track two, where we're focusing on supporting talented STEM undergraduate majors and professionals to become K-12 STEM teachers in high need school districts, or support experienced exemplary K-12 STEM teachers to become teacher leaders in high need school district, which is our track three, or support research on the effectiveness and retention of K-12 STEM teachers in high need school district. And again, with our different tracks, we have different expectations for them. And so what we would really want for you, for those of you who are serving as a reviewer, ideally, if you're a PI of a track 1, 2, or 3, or 4, feel free to join, or if you have interest in submitting one of those tracks, making sure that you identify what track you're interested in. In addition to these tracks, we also have capacity building. And so capacity buildings are more or less planning grants for those who want to make sure they want to have the infrastructure, or they want to take some time to do a true needs assessment to see if they have the capacity to support for their exploration in the track 1 through 4. And so this is, really want to making sure that even before you read a proposal, that you really are very familiar with the Noyce solicitation, the current one. And so that's really key, is in making sure you fully understand what that means. And I'm sorry, daycare does not start until the 3rd of September. So if you hear a little background noise, my apologies. And so for this session, we wanted to do a panel review overview, and just kind of give you what are the requirements as far as a reviewer, what are we looking for, the time frame for when this actual review process will start, because our proposals were, again, the deadline was yesterday. So we are starting day one of actively recruiting panel reviewers. Talk about the panel preparation time commitment for you if you were selected to be a reviewer, what it means to those review days and what that schedule would look like, the process of reviewing, and the payment, which I kind of jokingly say is a love offering. But the love offering that we provide for your time, we'll talk a little bit about that. And then, of course, leave some times for Q&A. So for panel reviewer requirements, what are we looking for? And so with Noyce, I mentioned we're intentional about making sure we have a diverse panel with respect to discipline. So we have teachers, current teachers who are K-12 teachers. We want them on our panels. And so they don't have to be Noyce scholars or fellows, but we would love to have a Noyce scholar or fellow. So if you can't serve, we would love for you to share. If you're a PI or a former PI or current PI, please share our reviewer link with your scholars and fellows, and maybe they have the capacity and their interest to serve as a reviewer. It would be great for us to have them. That's actually one of our harder to fill slots, but we do it every time. But the more in our pool, the better it is for us to make sure that we have the voice of a teacher on our panel. We need a STEM faculty member, so anyone in biology, chemistry, engineering, math. We need true STEM faculty members in a STEM department to serve. An education faculty member. We need an evaluator. And specifically for track 4, we're really looking for someone with specific research experience. And so for the track 4 proposals, we comb through those and try to see what methodology. So we'll be contacting you really based on your experience with STEM research to make sure that we have, and I think I spell researcher, so just excuse me, you're looking for that level of experience. And so really, we're intentional about not only these types of reviewers, but also the types of institutions and school districts and things of that nature that you do represent. And so we do have school administrators as well, if they have the capability to do that, to serve as a reviewer. And so we're not even opposed to having a retired teacher, but we have to have a current teacher serve on our panel. And so, as you can see, we have at least one, two, three, four, five, at least five people on our review panel. A lot of our review panels have 6 to 7 people. And so really making sure that we have good representation of institution types, location, geographic locations. And so we're very intentional about who we select and why we select them to serve on each panel. So the panel review timeframe, our window, I think, is about October the 15th through around November the 8th. And so we are looking for that time window. And so when you'll be contacted once we kind of look at our proposals and we actually determine how many panels we have. You'll be contacted by a Noyce program officer and will be given a selection of dates. And so for Noyce, our panels at times can be sometimes Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday. But really, it's really based on the availability of those we ask. And so, for example, I'm running an IU's panel, and I sent out emails to potential reviewers, and I just gave them a bunch of options. And I actually have an Excel spreadsheet, and I just kind of put an X next to who said what, and then I use that data to determine who is better suited for what days versus, and some program officers kind of do the reverse. These days work best for me, and so I'll allow you to select from those dates. We have found that having a Monday, Wednesday works well, or Tuesday, Thursday works well for some. But in the case of my IU's panel, I have a panel Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday, and that was just based off of the availability and making sure I had the good mix of diversity that I was looking for my IU's panels. And so it's not a fixed date, but we really want to make sure that you are aware of the general time frame. And so for some of you, this may not work. You might say, oh, this is the middle of midterms for me. And so I cannot, being a Noyce reviewer may not work, but IU's is here. And so Leah, I know she's actively looking for reviewers for her IU's panel that's focusing on STEM teacher prep. So if you're interested in that, we can connect you with Leah, and maybe you're a good fit for that particular panel. So the panel preparation time, and so what does it mean? What is the commitment that you would have? So we typically give you at least 30 days to have access to the system, to the reviews, to review them, to write reviews, all those types of things. Depending on how many proposals are on the panel, you may have 4 to 6, probably should have said 8 proposals. And each proposal is 15 pages. And as you know, that's really just a project description. And there's other documents that are included in the submission of the proposal that you may peruse as well, like the data management plan, if they have a mentoring plan. So there's other documents in addition to the 15-page proposal that you would be looking at. But, kind of thinking about how long would it take you to just read through thoroughly and write notes and annotate and ask questions of a 15-page proposal, and then write your individual review. And we provide you with a template on how you should write your review, and then we'll submit one individual review to the Noyce program officer so we can review it, give you some feedback. There's certain things that we prefer you not to do, and that's really to tell the proposer or the potential PI what you should do. There's a certain way in which we want the reviews to be critical and helpful, but not prescriptive. And then you'll submit your reviews to the PES system, and PES does stand for something, and hopefully one of my colleagues could put PES, what it means. So we've moved from, for those of you who've served in the past as a reviewer, we were using Fastlane, which was lovely. It was a lovely tried and true system, but we have upgraded. And so now we have the ability to do more collaborative work, real time in the PES system. And so we've made that transition. We piloted it at least for a year, and now everything has moved from Fastlane to this PES system. And so you hopefully will find it a new and improved experience for those of you who have served and are just here for a refresher to see if things have changed much. But this is really what would include the panel preparation, really reading the reviews and writing the individual reviews. And so we really try to be mindful of your time, and that's why we give you 30 days to do that. So, if you can chunk it and say you have 6 to 8, and then, week 1, you do 2 to 3 reviews, a week, then it's not so overwhelming at the end. And I will say, your Noyce program officers will be checking in with you just to see how you're pacing. And if you are overwhelmed, let us know so we can make some adjustments. You'll have new reviewers on your panel as well as more veteran reviewers. And so we know how to shift loads and to make sure that we're ready for the panel review process on day 1. There's certain requirements that we need to have in the system to make sure we can move effectively and efficiently. So the review panel time and the commitment. And so I mentioned the days and the times, and so we try to be very intentional on who we include and where we include them. And so not everything is going to be Eastern Standard Time friendly. And so we're inclusive of those who are in even Hawaii and the Hawaiian time zone. And so really thinking about time zones and who is on the panel really helps us determine when a start time is. So sometimes we start as early as 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. And then sometimes, depending on how many people are from the later time zones, we might not start to 11 or 12. And so all those things are kind of voted on and discussed prior to the schedule. And you'll already know the days because that's included in when we determine who can serve on what panel. But knowing the days and the times, and we're going to meet all virtually for this round of panels via Zoom. And so you'll be provided a Zoom link for those 2 days that you'll be serving as a panel reviewer, and he will be on Zoom for at least 4 hours every day. Day 1 is a little bit longer because that's when we're going through all of the reviews. And day 2 is typically shorter, but depends on, just like every class is different, every review panel is different. And so the dynamics between the reviewers are different. And so there's not a hard and fast time rule. As a program officer, we do try to pace you. We don't want you to be there all night, nor do we want to be there all night, but we don't want to stifle the discussion, but we will help guide you and pace you to make sure that you give adequate time for each review, and that really making sure every voice is heard in those because we have you on the panel for your expertise, and we want to make sure that expertise is being shared on each proposal. And so those are kind of some of the things that we're going to be focusing on the days of the panel, is to making sure that you have that your voice is being heard. Then a little bit about the panel review process. And so for those of you who have submitted proposals in the past, you know that some of the key areas are the intellectual merit and the broader impact. And so as a reviewer, you're really looking at those key areas, really looking at the what, why, how, and who benefits, and those types of things as you're going through the proposals. And as mentioned, we do give you a template for the individual reviews as well as the panel summaries. And that will help you determine where to put things. And so you're really looking for the strengths. What is really strong about this proposal? Is there anything novel, innovative? Are they using best practices? those types of things. And then are there concerns, weaknesses, opportunity areas in each intellectual merit and broader impact that you've identified that you felt could help strengthen the proposal? And think of these as comments that will help not only the proposer, the potential PI, but also the program officer. If we have to negotiate this particular proposal, this particular project, and or provide them feedback on their project, what would be most helpful for all parties on how to improve the project, because we really want the work to be done. If it's funded or not, we really want to see how can we help advance the field, and your feedback is helpful in that regard. Just a little bit more about broader impact. And so some of these are some slides if you're selected as a reviewer that we include in our orientation, but these are the questions as you're going through intellectual merit and broader impact that we want you to think about when you're writing your reviews. And so we'll give you these prompts, and they will be included on the template to help you determine how do you write and what are you writing for. Like, oh, the intellectual property sounds good. No, like really, how is it really measuring with respect to these types of questions? And how could it be enhanced? And even projects, I will say, that are that you may feel are just exemplary. There's always room for improvement. There's always something that you can find that they could do better, or this was really strong here, but I think it could. All those different types of things I think are helpful. We don't want you to write about your feelings, and I said I think, but really what are constructive, and you're really writing towards the proposal that was submitted, not what you think should have been submitted. So if there are opportunity areas or things that are missing, then you could definitely identify that in your critique. You'll rate this from excellent to very good, from excellent to poor, and very good and fair are the ones that are in the middle. And so really thinking about what does this mean, and know that your ratings are just recommendations to NSF. There are times where and so they're not something that are prescriptive. So if you say something is excellent and you look and your colleagues say something is fair, that just helps enhance the discussion about that particular proposal. So rate it on based on what is written and the criteria that you have to evaluate it, and you would give it a particular rating each proposal that you have. And I think I skipped one slide, but wanted to kind of give you an idea. So as a panel reviewer, we do on day one, we review each proposal, and you just have a discussion. You have a discussion about intellectual merit, the strengths and the weaknesses. You'll have a discussion about the broader impact, the strengths and the weaknesses, and all of you will be assigned a role for each proposal that you are assigned. And so let's say on a panel, there may be 10 proposals. You won't be assigned a role to read all 10. That's why I said there's a range, 4 to 6, 6 to 8. It depends on how many proposals are on a panel. And so there are some panels that some proposals you'll be assigned the role of primary, or the other ones you might be secondary, and then the other one might just say panelist, right? So if you're assigned panelist, you can peruse that proposal, but you're not required to write a individual review. If you're a primary or secondary, you're expected to write an individual review. And so if you're primary, you're also the role of the scribe. And so as the discussion is happening, you are taking notes. And so however you choose to take notes, if it's old school pen and paper, if you want to type the notes real time, you'll do that. And so as program officers, what we try to do is to chunk the discussion. So as a scribe, you're not overwhelmed, and checking in with the person who is assigned the scribe to making sure that they can keep up with the discussion. And again, we try to chunk it so you're just not so overwhelmed with capturing everything. And then we allow you time to make sure that if you need to verify, Leah, let me make sure I have this captured correctly. And so you have that time to make sure that you've captured their thoughts. And then there's also time in between, after the discussion, when you write up your panel summary, that person would be able to go in real time and actually say, well, this is really what I meant, and they can make corrections to it. So, those are some of the things that we do on day one, is just really having a good discussion about the proposal. The scribe takes the notes on the about the proposal to draft the panel summary. And so on day two, what we do is the scribe submits the draft summary prior to the meeting. So you do have kind of homework. And so you're going to look at these panel summaries that were submitted for all of those proposals that you were either primary or secondary. And you review those proposals, those panel summaries, and you'll provide feedback. The beauty of the PES system, you can go in there and make those edits and make those revisions. And you don't have to, the old system with Fastlane, it was a little antiquated, so you'll be able to provide that feedback to make sure that what's reflected is accurate. And then we'll review those panel summaries, and we do that real time. We read it, and each program officer does this portion differently. Some read it orally, some of you read it. So that part of how do you confirm that this is actually reflects the voice of the panel summary does depend on each program officer. But in the end, you review and you approve the panel summary, and then you provide a final ranking. And so for those of you who are familiar with NSF, you do get your individual reviews, and it has excellent to poor. And then you have the rating, which is highly competitive, competitive, or not competitive. And so that goes along with this panel review summary process. And then we do a debrief of your experience. And so that's what day two would really look like. And again, I wanted to give you some options of what it would look like as far as a schedule. And so this is a panel that started at 10. And so we do have an orientation on day one. We have some breaks. And again, it depends, like every class is different, every panel is different. So I've had panel review panels where we kind of followed the schedule. I've had others where we didn't break for lunch, because that's why I put optional. And they're just like, you know what, I will chat and chew. I'll turn my, so you figure it out, because it depends on what life happens to everyone. Some people have harder stops. I've got to get my kids, I've got to do this. And so we just kind of work through the day. And so all those things we kind of just talk about as a group, but this is just an example of what a schedule could look like on day one, what your homework is going to be like, if you are chosen, and then what a day two schedule would look like. So just kind of giving you some general things of what to expect. So there is a love offering that's affiliated with this. And it, as I mentioned, it depends on assuming that you are online for at least 4 hours. And so it's $200 a day. So the love offering in total would be $400. You won't get cash, but you will get a direct deposit. I used to have a joke about it. It won't say NSF, because NSF and bank funding don't really go together, but it does. You will know that this funding did come from the National Science Foundation. But you'll receive $400 for the 2 days, $200 per day that you serve as a panel reviewer. And so those are just kind of a general overview of the process. I'm going to open up the floor to any questions, and I can stop my share now, but we just wanted to just kind of open up the floor for anything that you may have about the panel review process, if you had questions. I don't see anyone.
Could you talk a little bit about the way that the panels are put together? I think you mentioned a little bit about expertise and that kind of thing, but then also like how the proposals are sort of connected to the various panels. Like, I guess we are a panel that reviews proposals, but that particular proposal is just in our group, or is it also in other groups? Like, I'm just curious about that. I think it's
Yeah,
honest.
we chunk the proposals in a couple different ways, by track. Right. And so it's the biggest one. And so, if you are selected to be on a panel, it's not going to be track 1, track 2, track 3. There'll be all track 1 proposals, all track 2 proposals, those types of things. And, you know, we try to, you know, if we know you're a PI of a track 1, you know, having you serve on a track 1 proposal panel is helpful. But if you have interest in serving on maybe potentially submitting a track 2 or a track 3, you know, you can just let us know. Is it possible? You know, just, you know, letting us know that part too. And so that's, you know, we chunk them per their category. And then the capacity building as well. And we also have some other designations that we have. And for Noyce right now, all of our panels will be virtual. We may start doing some in-person proposals maybe next cycle, but this year we're still going to do virtual. We have found that it is allowed us to be more equitable with the virtual panels, because some people coming to DC has been a burden. For some, not everybody can just leave their families to come to DC for 3 or 4 days, but hopping on Zoom, they're able to do.
Jennifer,
So,
there's
yes.
a question about track 3.
And I didn't mention and I should have, as far as who can serve, if you submitted a proposal for this competition, then you are not eligible to serve as a reviewer. And we look to see if you have some form of, and so there are times when we may reach out to you and we'll identify that you actually have conflicts of interest. And so there are times where you may be contacted to submit to serve as a reviewer, that you may not actually be able to review just based on the panel in which you're selected. You just may have a conflict of interest with everybody because you are just that researcher in the field that you just, you know, conflict with everyone who it just so happens to submit. And so please let us know. If we can put you on another panel, we will. But you know, we want to know of your conflicts of interest. And there are times where there may be just one conflict of interest and we're able to kind of work around that. But for a track 3, the tracks, in the past, we have not really allowed people, if you submitted to serve as a reviewer. For Noyce, but at times so right now we're going to say no. If you submitted a proposal, we would prefer you not to serve as a reviewer for this cycle. We do have retirees who can serve as a reviewer. We love retirees to serve as reviewers. And as mentioned, we can have up to 7 people on a panel. You wouldn't count as a current teacher. But definitely your expertise is definitely needed and appreciated and valued and needed. And we know for sure you may actually have more time than others to write the reviews. So we definitely encourage retirees to fill out the form and to serve as a reviewer. So yeah, right now we are opening up the window for those who are expressing interest to submit their survey, submit their information. And probably within the next, as Olivia said, the next 3 weeks, we're going to be starting to contact folks for serving as reviewers for our panels. It's going to take us a minute or two to sort through all the panels, all the proposals that have been submitted, and to put them in their right buckets and determine how many panels we will have, and then all the reviewers and things of that nature. So give us maybe 3 to 4 weeks max before you will hear from us about potentially serving.
I would just add
And I hear someone talking.
Sorry, did it work? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, on my end it said that I was muted still. All right. I would just add that remember, we need people who work with our schedule, but it also needs to work with your schedule. So there's going to be some communication back and forth. We have to make sure that you have the availability, just like if we have the availability that we're running the panel. So we tend to like send out kind of a save the dates. Hopefully it works, and you have to agree to it before you're actually selected. So you usually have a pretty big lead in, and we need to make sure it works for everyone.
Jennifer, if I may ask, you talked a little bit about you didn't want in the evaluations, you know, that this proposal is good. You wanted detail and feedback. I'm interested to hear like what level of feedback, and I'll just use a brief example. When I did a review, I was looking at the budget, and I actually went kind of in lines and said, in this line, these numbers don't match, and there's no rationale for that line. And I was a little concerned that that was perhaps a bit too much detail. So what sort of level is helpful for you when you and your staff are trying to make those final decisions?
You know, we do provide you a template, right? And so focusing on intellectual merit, the strengths and the weaknesses, the broader impact, strengths and weaknesses, and data management plan. So there's a template that you'll have that will give you those cues. The budget sometimes gets a little tricky, right? And so for more seasoned PIs, I guess if you see something that is glaring, you know, this doesn't have 60%, that's helpful, but you don't need to get that much in the weeds. That's what I was going to say. Your time is limited. And so what we really want you to focus on is what is most important on an individual review sheet. And so getting too much in the weeds may make you not agree to serve as a reviewer again, because it's going to take too much time to get that level of detail. So how you write your statements and how you provide your critique, that's more even of a stylistic. So there are people who do a bulleted list, and they may phrase it in that way. Some people write, you know, a little bit more lengthy sentences or a paragraph, but really focusing on if you remember to the slide that I had before, you know, kind of addressing some of those big questions about intellectual merit. How does this proposal address those things? And are there areas that they missed that you can speak on? Or are there areas that they just really excelled in? Is a research that they're using outdated? Is there something, you know, maybe that they should consider that you would suggest? You know, there's a new body of research that's out there on this. Maybe you can consider this. That type of thing is helpful. And so also we're asking you for your level of expertise. So using your lens is helpful. So as a STEM faculty member, did you see something that, you know, maybe they could consider collaborating with this, and that would help, you know, these particular entities. And so what's helpful for us as program officers is if we were to negotiate this particular proposal, what are the questions that you may have about this proposal that may give you pause? You know, this is all of our respective tax dollars that are going to be used to invest in this. And so are there questions that you may have that would help strengthen the proposal, or things that they may need to consider that would be something that should be considered prior to funding? And sometimes it's even helping the PIs, protecting them from themselves, right? And so some people get in the habit of thinking you can save the world in one proposal. You cannot. And so they may have a list of activities, you know, they're trying to do 15 different things with these lovely scholars and fellows. And you're just like, this is a bit much. You know, maybe they need to consider paring down, or those types of things. That's very helpful. You know, I have a concern that the number of activities would be a burden on current teachers. You've got them, they're already teaching full time, and this is a track 3 proposal, and you're adding 8 additional activities on them. That may be a bit much. I mean, you would, of course, you wouldn't phrase it like that, but those types of, you know, critiques would be helpful. So as a current teacher or a retired teacher, you're looking at what is being proposed. This is not realistic. That's helpful. So that's the lens that we're looking at, we would want you to bring to the panel review process, your very practical lens from your area. If you're an evaluator, I mentioned that briefly, but every Noyce proposal for track 1 through 4 is required to have an external evaluator. And does this, are they just in name only? Are they kind of bring your evaluator lens to this? Are they asking the right questions? Do they have a robust evaluation plan? Is it an iterative feedback loop? Those types of things are very helpful for us and for the potential PIs. Leah, Olivia, is there anything else that you would like to add? Nope, okay. Any other questions? I see you all are in the chat, and I see Olivia and Leah are, looks like they're staring at their screen to see how they can jump in and answer. So anything else that anybody wants to unmute and ask?
I just would, I was just gonna say, there have been a couple questions about if your institution submitted, but it wasn't like necessarily you, if they could still serve as a reviewer. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that, and we should probably discuss that one.
Yeah, so each NSF program has different criteria. So some programs, there is an institutional conflict of interest. Noyce, in the past, we have allowed you to submit, to serve as a reviewer if there is not an institution, even if someone from your institution has submitted, but we would make sure you're not on a panel where there are proposals from from your home institution. And again, if you have a conflict of interest, please let us know. When you'll get the list of proposals, if you were selected, and if you see, oh my gosh, this is my best friend, let the program officer know immediately. And there's a conflict of interest form that you have to submit, but please let us know so we can make the proper accommodations. What is the commitment of reviewer training? And so if you are selected, we send tons of emails to kind of help you and help track you and pace you. Some of those emails have recorded Zoom videos, and so that you can log on to those, and you can, review those to kind of help you with the review process. Each program officer has at least one open office hour before the panel, so you can just hop on there, and we're very accessible for our reviewers. So if that time window that the program officer has selected doesn't work with your schedule, we don't mind hopping on for another 15 minutes, 20 minutes to meet with you, to answer any questions. And so there's a layer of support. So there's not necessarily the training that you would have to log on for prior to. We do have an orientation that's included in the day one. And so that's the first hour or so of the day one for your panel review process, but there's not a specific training that you have to log on to. You can kind of pace yourself through the training and the resources that are provided. Karen, if you want to submit it again, you can submit your information again, and we'll make sure that we will delete any duplicate entries. If you aren't sure if you submitted it, please do. Yeah, and so, I could see. So there are times where, I see what Sarah has, based on your example, it looks like panel days are full days. And do you know the dates? And so I gave some tentative dates, and those are the range. And so each program officer determines what dates, kind of like that range of time that they want to kind of work within, because we also are supporting other programs as well. And so we'll give you those dates, and we basically, some of the selection isn't, oh, I wasn't good enough. It was the majority of the people that we sent the interest to were available Tuesday and Thursday, and you were only available Monday and Wednesday. And that's just what it was. It wasn't, we didn't like you, we didn't appreciate your experience. It was, you weren't available when the masses were. And so that's kind of, how it boils down to it. But we would love for all of you to serve. And we're just so excited that there's so much interest in serving as a reviewer for Noyce. And again, Leah, I'm tagging you in there to say, you know, she's actively recruiting for the IU STEM teacher prep,
I
which
certainly am. Yes.
which is soon. So if you're interested, Leah can pop her email in there for you and you can email her.
Thank you so much.
And you can serve on that panel if you're interested in the improving undergraduate STEM education within the Division of Undergraduate Education. We are accepting proposals that are focusing on K-12 STEM education. And so if you are not familiar with IUs or you've heard about it, I think I want to do something on IUs, that being a reviewer is an excellent way of learning more about the program, who is doing research in that area, what kind of research is being done in that area, and really how to make a good proposal. It's just an invaluable experience to serve as a reviewer for NSF. And if you can't, a junior faculty member that has expressed interest, feel free to send this to them as well, as they're starting out and they're trying to determine where in NSF do they want to find their niche. It's a great place to start, is serving as a reviewer. And if you have any other questions, feel free to unmute. I'm trying to think.
This is Lane just chiming in. Having been an NSF reviewer, it's also a great place to meet and sort of build your network of other folks that you know who are doing similar work. I've kept in touch with some of the other people that I've had the chance to review with, and we've just sort of it's been a great sort of professional context to work in. So I'd also plug for, you get to meet some really cool people in the course of the review sessions.
Now, I don't know if anyone has served as an in-person reviewer, actually come to, Olivia, you have, correct? Yeah, you might want to share.
Yeah, so I was one of the few in-person reviewers when the building first opened in 2019. It was actually a Noyce panel that I was on before I came here to the NSF as a rotator. It was a wonderful experience. And even then in 2019, we had hybrid panels, and some were virtual and some were in person. But it was a great experience because, as has been mentioned, I just got to know more people in the field and build those professional connections. And I also still am in contact with people that I've been on panels with in the past. And it's a way to it was a way for me to build my professional network. Someone had mentioned, and I was typing it up, what's the commitment for reviewer training? And I was trying to think through, as I had been a reviewer in the past. So this has all been mentioned, but kind of what I always did as my homework to be a reviewer was read the solicitation again, watch the training videos. You have to read each of the individual proposals and write a review. And that takes way more time. What I just said, which seems like, it takes more time than you think. It's, and I'd like other people, I would say that I devoted, 4 hours per proposal. Maybe a little bit less once you get into it. Sometimes if it was I was in kind of the reviewing headspace, but so we're not paying you very much for the time you're going to put in for it. And then the day of the actual panels is the only time that you become kind of NSF paid employees. And then there is even homework typically between day 1 and day 2. We have to write up the panel summary. So if you're that primary person, you would have to write that up. But overall, the experience that I gained from it was so much more valuable than any pay that I would have gotten from it, that I did it many, many times, and why I'm a rotator now and at the NSF. So I welcome everyone to join, and please ask more questions.
This is Vera Hutchison from the University of Houston. I've done both in person and virtual. I would say that the process is very similar. You come prepared to be in person, have discussions during the day. You go home in the evening, you write up your reports and come back the next day. So it's very similar to the virtual process. The only difference I remember is that you have a day between your meetings if it's virtual, but in person it's back to back. You usually arrive one day, have orientation in the morning, you start your work and come back the next day and you finish up. So both experiences are very good. The work is the same, it's just that it's distributed a little differently.
I agree. And some of our panels, even if they're in virtual, it ends up working out that you have it on a Wednesday, Thursday. I've had those before where it's kind of interesting, but that's when the panelists were available. But virtual sometimes will have like, even, we hate to do this, but even like a weekend sometimes, like we'll do a Friday, Monday between them. So it does give that. But when you're in person and the government's paying for your, your housing and stuff, yeah, they do them back to back. But it's a great experience either way.
And I just included the QR code from the presentation for the survey, if you're interested to serve as a reviewer. So I placed that in the chat.
Any other questions? We're
Yeah,
here.
I just have one little question. I'm not sorry if I apologize if you already addressed it, but I'm curious if you have people in panels beyond those the required categories. Or in other words, does one need to fit those categories neatly to be selected?
No. No, David, I know Olivia, I think she addressed it in the chat, but just to
Oh,
reiterate
I didn't.
what she shared.
Sorry,
No,
I
no,
think I
it's okay. No, no,
dismissed it.
no. It's fine. But just to reiterate what she shared, because it was well shared, and that is that we welcome all all backgrounds. Of course, it's closely pertaining to STEM education as possible, but we're open to the range of experiences and expertise that you all bring to the reviewing experience. So if
Okay,
you're
great.
interested, David,
Thank
submit.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
This has far exceeded my expectations on what this could be. And I thank Lane and again, AAAS for just making this a suggestion of, yeah, maybe we could do this. So clearly there was interest, and we look forward to many of you serving as new reviewers. For us, this is just great.
Great. So before we go, I would like to thank Dr. Ellis, Dr. Long, Dr. McAllister Shields, the rest of the IC team, and all of you who are able to join today. We will have a survey link, which we will post in the chat and we'll send out via email. It should only take a few minutes, and we would really love your feedback since this is something that we're sort of trying out. And if we would like more offerings like this in the future, we would definitely be interested in hearing if this session or another topic might be of interest to you. Again, the recording will be posted on our website and emailed to you in the coming days. And again, thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.